to that, I just want to say a big, big thank you to all my listeners on this beautiful Valentine's Day. So understand that when we are doing these shows, our goal is to connect you to real voices, real people in the field, regardless of what IMO affiliation that they have, because at the end of the day, they're having a great experience. And I want to give you the best option to be the best choice for your career or stay put where you're at if you're happy and everything's going good. So I'm looking forward to this great episode. So stay tuned. Here we go. I have Phil. Phil, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Phil Resch. I've been in the industry for about 18 years, financial services, I should say. Um, Born in Rochester, New York, moved to Connecticut when I was 5, and moved down here to Nashville, Tennessee about 11 years ago. Best move I ever made. So that's just a little bit about me. Got a wife and 2 boys, 16 and 13, and just loving life, loving life.
No, I love that. Same here. So when we talked before, you said you started your journey in sales while in college at Circuit City, which I thought was so funny. I was like, oh my days. That is back in the day. Like I said, I can see myself as a kid running through the aisles, going to the CDs, trying to see the
Mhm.
new latest single for NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or B2K, whatever boy band was out at the time.
Mm.
So I love that you took me like through a little quick memory lane. But what were some of the key lessons you learned about sales and communication during that time?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I was really in sales. So before, I would say I was very, very introverted. Like to just, get a core group of people. And then when I started working at Circuit City, uh, I was forced out of my comfort zone. So
Yeah.
my old manager said that if you're within 6 feet or 30 seconds of someone, you have to go say hello. And so that forced me to go talk to people, and I was afraid at first, but I just followed orders, and went up and said hello. So I'd be like, "Hey, Patrice, how are you?" Or I didn't know who you are, but I'd say, "Hi, how are you today?" The common response is just looking. I'd be like, "That's fine. I was just saying hello," and you just find different trigger things to get people to open up, because normally after that the guard is down a little bit, and then they
Yeah.
start talking. So you really start to find different ways to communicate with people. And ended up being the top salesperson when I graduated from college. So I worked 40 hours as well as a full class load, as well as an internship. So I worked very, very hard. And when I graduated college, I did not pursue my major, which was sport management. I just
Hmm.
didn't have a chance to network. And they promoted me to a sales manager in northern Baltimore area, Golden Ring, and they had to hire 2 people to replace the sales that I did. And I
Wow.
took the 15th ranked tech department out of 15 stores to either number 1 or number 2, depending on the month. So I really loved what I did, and it really helped me get out of the comfort zone, and also my first inkling into management as well. So it was pretty trippy.
I love that because I think hearing that because I didn't we you said that before, but now that we're here recording, how he made you talk to people within 60 seconds or 3 feet of you,
30
baby,
seconds.
you're
Yeah.
doing you're doing that now on Facebook because that's how we met. You hopped up in my you jumped into the comment section like, hey, I like what you're doing. What's up? But again, I love how that bled through. So you better thank that man because he is even to this day that one thing is still holding strong.
That was
Um,
great.
and I'll say with a lot of agents too, a lot of times they stop finding success because they stop doing the things that help get them there. They
Yeah.
start plateauing, and then they find themselves in survivor mode doing the thing. But they have to realize it's you have to continuously do it and add upon it and expand it. Right? You went from the real world where we all used to be, but now we're in this virtual world. So you have to now translate that here, and now we're here. So obviously, it makes sense and it works.
Voila.
Transferable skills. So you hadn't even thought about insurance yet. So like everybody, I'm always like, how did you get Pied Pipered into the insurance world? Like who said they'll help? Well, I can get you paid if you sign your friends up for insurance. You'll make $500 per person. So
Yeah.
you made that shift. What sparked your interest to step into the insurance industry?
Yeah, I mean, no one literally wakes up and says, I want to work in the insurance industry. You're either, roped in through some form or fashion, or you work in Connecticut where they have every single insurance company there. So, from what happened to me, and believe it or not, one of my friends one time tried to get me to go to a Primerica party. And he's like, hey man, there's free food. You like food. I was like, all right, yeah. I see what you did there. He's like,
That's how my
oh,
husband got me. So
just gotcha. Roped in with free food. I was like, nah, I'm good. He's like, why? It's just a bunch of dudes hanging out. I was like, I'm good because we all know what's gonna happen.
yeah,
But
yeah,
um, but it was that thing where I was still working at Circuit City, and you work at night. Your friends are working during the day, and
yeah,
then it's just cross, balance. And really, I just got tired of working Black Fridays. People fighting over $200 laptops. They're gonna break a month later.
yeah,
Labor Day when everyone's cracking open a beer and sitting, in a pontoon or something like that. You're doling out sales to a bunch of people to meet goals. And I said, there's got to be something better than this. So my buddy worked at MetLife in the call center, and I called him up and I was like, "Hey, man, do you guys have any openings there?" And he's like, "Well, do you know what annuities are?" And I said, "Nope." He said, "Perfect, you're hired." And I was like, "Okay." So, just going into MetLife, and there's some crazy things like I won't get all religious or anything, but like just certain things happen for a reason. And I literally, the day I started at MetLife was the day Circuit City started laying off people.
wow, wow,
Yeah, I got a phone call at one of my breaks that said that people were going into the office and leaving crying. And I'm sitting there learning, Series 6, about, stocks, bonds, and all this
yeah,
other stuff. And people are just getting laid off left and right. So had I stayed, I probably would have been out of a job as well pretty quickly because they had four managers and they would only keep two.
yeah,
And I'll just say that maybe I was a little too blunt that I didn't meet the favor of some of the other managers. So it was
yeah.
probably I probably would have been gone too. So
Did you have a
crazy
family at
things.
this time before transitioning to the finance
Just a
world?
wife. Yeah,
Okay,
just a
okay.
wife. So we moved back home from Baltimore to Connecticut in that time frame because we felt like we ought to be closer to family. Like my sister was pregnant with her second kid,
Mm,
and I felt like we didn't even know the first one. So I didn't want to be that guy. Family means a lot to me. And so ultimately, made the decision that it's time to go back home. And, I helped open the store in Enfield, Connecticut as a tech manager. And then, about 6 months later, I was gone because I just couldn't do it anymore.
yeah,
I wanted nights, I wanted weekends, but it's just one of those things where you get prepared for something different. In our class at MetLife, there was only two of us, and I was the only one who made it out. The other one couldn't pass their six, and
mm,
you know, learned learned the traits of taking call centers. Working in
yeah,
the call center for a year, and talking to customers who don't know what a 403(b) is and what an annuity is, and all this other stuff. So it was interesting to see one side of the coin before transitioning up to the sales desk, which I didn't even look at the I didn't even look at the application. I just wanted to get out of the call center.
yeah,
And my wife was pregnant with our first son at that point, and I was trying to get out, trying to get to a better spot. And I applied for a wholesaler gig, and I found out that as I'm applying for it, I read it's a life wholesaler, internal wholesaler gig.
mm,
And I got it. I was one of four who got onto the internal wholesaler sales desk. And about a year later, the financial crisis happened, and we were the last class to get promoted up for about 5, 6 years. So it was
wow,
trippy.
wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's take it back a second. So the call center, were you like cold calling people about
no.
403s and annuities? Because
Oh
that's like
God, no.
such a big thing to jump into as a brand new agent, as you probably know now, that they
Yeah.
probably basically put you in calculus of,
Oh,
of the insurance world. So Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it was actually the other way around. So we were servicing policies.
Mm,
So people were calling us. And so there were days where we'd have about 100, 120 calls in queue. So you just have to sit there and, it's what's my account value? What I want to change my investments around. I want to move my money from MetLife to Edward Jones or somewhere else. But like it got so monotonous, like I would sit here and literally go like this, and I'd start typing in, getting everything ready to go because it was all the same screens. And then when I finally had to look at something, your account balance is 40,000. It got old real
yeah,
quick. And
yeah,
I was like number one or number two in calls taken, so I was doing my job. But, I'm sitting there just kind of waiting for a better opportunity. And my boss even said to me one time, she says, Phil, you ever hear that phrase, you want to dress for the job you want, not for the job you have? I was like, yeah. She's like, do you think like you don't want to, you might want to put a button down on versus a polo and, some slacks instead of jeans? I was like, lady, I paid $5 a week to wear jeans. I'm gonna wear jeans. And the only week that I wore a suit was the week I interviewed for the wholesaler job, and I got it. So,
yeah,
I dressed for the job I needed to get to. So it was funny. Like there's mutual respect between me and my old boss, but
yeah,
we also kind of clashed in the fact that like, hey, it's a call center. They're not,
yeah,
so
yeah,
and you'll see like it'll probably come up in the conversation again. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do, but I also feel that like if I could sell in a t-shirt, flip-flops and gym shorts and people respect that because
yeah.
I know what I'm talking about, that's where I want to get. Like the whole stigma of having to be like, all dolled up, it just pisses me off because I know I'm better than a lot of people, but just because you put
Yeah.
on a fancy whatever makes you better. I don't think
But I
so.
think even still, it's just even I like I hear what you're saying because I get the opposite, right? So I teach
Mhm.
and I dress up because it's fun because I'm like I went from being like a housewife, baby. I need to show my clothes off to someone. Like I told a student today, I was like,
Fair
oh,
point.
maybe I should go visit my teacher friend because I need to walk down that aisle so they can see my shirt. Like, but I guess my point is, it's that requirement. It's not that boss attitude where I'm like, why are you telling me what to do? And I make more
Yep,
sales than you. Like, who are
pretty
you
much.
like
Hold my
me
beer, shut
changing
up,
my
and get out of
outfit, yeah, like
here.
changing my clothes is not going to change my performance, like
Amen.
whatsoever. What I'm wearing is what's helping me perform. Okay.
Exactly.
Like that's what
Exactly.
I tell my kids at the school. I'm like, listen, if I look good, I'll feel good. So even if my day is bad, I know I'm good. And for you, you're like, listen, if I take 100 calls and I'm still number one salesman, you need to get out of my face. So exactly, flip your
Yep.
hair.
That's when I had hair, now it's, well, actually, that's bad. I won't do that again.
So you talked about and you did mention this already. You talked about working through the financial crisis of 2008. How did that shape your approach to the financial advising and sales?
Yeah, so I mean, like the first actual sales job with MetLife was, working with financial advisors, Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo, companies like that. And, so the financial crisis hits and they're hiding under tables because they don't want to talk to their clients who just took a 40% drop, in their whatever you
Yeah,
know. But on the same token, New York Life put out a huge one-page ad in the New York Times that said, we're profitable because we sell life insurance, whole life insurance. And so helped us learn how to talk to people in a different
yeah,
context. So instead of always talking about financial advisors and advisory firm and this and that, we talked about protection, non-market correlated assets that will grow even if the market, you still have that protection, which you can use today with IULs or whole life.
yeah,
But the fact of the matter is that we started to train advisors on how to diversify the portfolio. And some of them got it. Some, like I would call a Morgan Stanley office and say, hey, I'm calling you back. You want a term quote? Is the client interested in permanent? And he literally stopped me. He said, excuse me, if I do my job correctly, they won't need any insurance when they get to retirement. It's like, okay. In my head, I'm saying expletives, but I said, okay, fair point. You're the best, whatever.
Yeah.
You're the best financial advisor ever. So stuff like that sticks with me. And like, kind of like when someone insults you and then you think of a good
Yeah.
comeback like 2 days later, like, oh, I can't wait for someone to say that again. Like I have the perfect rebuttal now, but I'm like 16 years too late. So it
I
is what it
so
is.
feel that, especially when my earlier days, annuities used to intimidate me. I had clients like I had a client, and it still sticks with me. I'm still in that house, and homeboy's like, "Baby, I got 400K and my 401K. We good." And I was like, "You know what? You are right because I didn't know nothing. That was a lot of money." I was like,
Yeah.
"Probably
Yeah.
like you know more than
Yeah.
me," but now,
Mm.
how much is that is
No,
yours?
no, sir, you're
You know
not.
what I mean? Like, now I'm like, a third of that is, not yours. Tell me how much is yours. And then how much do you expect to live off every single year? And then you have to realize that whole thing is 100% at risk. So at any
Yep.
point in time, you can lose 20%, 10%, and it doesn't go back up. It takes more to gain what you lost. Like if you lost
Yep.
17%, it'll take 21% to break even.
Hmm.
So you don't
Hmm.
win. Okay. So it's like I know things now to rebuttal. And again, I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm trying to get you to understand your portfolio. What are
Yep.
you at risk for? You're leaving your wife with only 200K if you die, and y'all got a $600,000 house. That's not paying
Yep.
off anything. Y'all are still broke. You're in the negative in this story. But I'm there
But
with you.
the funny thing about that too, though, is that so many people are so afraid to even have those conversations. Do you feel that you're better now that you had that conversation versus if
Yeah.
you were too afraid to have those conversations? Like I have so many agents who are so timid to talk to a client because they're afraid that the client is going to give them a question that they can't answer. And I say, I get questions that I can't answer. And I've been
Yeah.
doing this for 18 years. It's going to happen,
I tell
So
them
you
I
just
don't
got to go
know. I'm
back.
gonna find out. I'm like, that's a good question. I was like,
Exactly.
listen, I
Exactly.
don't. I'm
Nothing
so
wrong with
honest
that.
with them. I'll even call the carrier
Yep.
right there. I'm like, let's call them together. We're gonna find out together. This is news to me.
Amen. Amen.
Like,
Yes.
and I'll tell
Why are
them,
people
hey, this is
so,
uncharted territory for me. So we're gonna have to figure this out together. I'm like, you're the only person this has
yep.
happened to.
Yep.
So
You cut your teeth by experience. That's the most important
exactly.
part.
Exactly. We need to fail forward, as they say.
Amen.
How you get
Amen.
better. So you've
Yep.
held several leadership positions, including internal wholesaling and eventually becoming a regional vice president. What are some of your biggest challenges and rewards in these roles?
Well, the rewards is definitely the experience. So
Mhm.
my reward from when I was an internal wholesaler was I got to work with one of the best regional vice presidents like ever. If you think of like that evangelical preacher, he did that
Yeah.
with life insurance with financial advisors. Like I was waiting for guys to get out in the hall, go like, "Amen," that much. It was amazing. So to learn from the best, and in my early years, I would try and pontificate and explain everything about policy. And he's like, Phil, don't tell me how the clock is made, just tell me the time. And I was like,
Yes.
okay. So simplification of complex situations help everybody. So
Yeah.
why do we have to make things so difficult with different concepts and strategies? So that was amazing to learn. The downside is that, at the same time, MetLife was mitigating cost. And so what they did is they did spread comp among the internal wholesalers based on the region or the
Mhm.
country. And so I had like when it was just comp based on your territory, I had some bad wholesalers. Then when I had the best wholesaler, the comp was based on everybody. So it's like having the keys to a Porsche and going to drive your beat up
Yeah.
Volvo. So it's just terrible. So that was tough, and that kind of I was loud. Everyone heard me talking.
Mhm.
I'm different, management had their deals. So at MetLife, I had one manager who was my boss, if you will, and there was another manager who covered the other half because we had, 27 internals. And they told me later that they had a bet that, you know, I would either progress or this other guy. So he was teaching the other guy, and I was being taught by my boss. They had a bet to see who was actually going to progress and or regress. And the other boss one time pulled me in because I wanted to get away from him. He was,
Yeah.
cancer. And he said to me, he goes, Phil, you would not make a good external wholesaler. You would not make a good marketer. I don't even think you're a good internal. So, and I just sat there like dumbfounded, like because I applied for a job to try and get out of under his thumb. And he was like,
Yeah.
why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And I was like, why would I tell you I don't like my job? You know?
Yeah.
So at that point, it was kind of at that 7 year mark where MetLife was going to Charlotte. I didn't move with them. And then ended up at AIG as a couple jobs in between, but eventually became a regional vice president. And I would not trade all the experiences that I had to get up to that point because it taught me a bunch of different things. Like I use the same concepts I use with financial advisors with independent agents. I was able to get a $42.5 million case placed with my prior company and help that agent make a 7 figure payday.
Yeah.
Downside is I only made a 4 digit payday because of the way that my structure was set up. So, the visions and ideas was like, I'm giving everything I can to this company,
Yeah.
getting nickels and giving them everything. So I said to myself, like, there's got to be a better way. The biggest thing that hit hard was two things. One, the biggest account that I had is held by a greedy old man who should have retired decades ago. But he decided to shift all his business to a different carrier, even though we bent over backwards. We were the number one carrier for him. And all because they were giving him little bonuses and stipends. And so my comp significantly dropped. And I went to AIG and I said, hey, this is out of my hands. What are you going to do? They said, nothing. You pick this job. So it was kind of like a twofold thing. So I got a little jaded with management at that point because they're telling me that I have to fill out all this activity. I had to fill out 3 reports every Friday. One video, it's like we're doing now. I would report what I did
Yeah.
every week. I had to write that on paper, and I had to set all my activity up in Salesforce for the entire week so I could check the boxes. And so I said to my boss near the end of my, being angry, he said, hey, you need to do your videos. I said, oh, I said, forget that in a different tone.
Yeah.
And and he said, you have to do that. I said, if it's not making me money, I'm eliminating it from my day to day because I'm trying to
Yeah.
salvage this territory. And so eventually, I was praying about it, thinking about a lot about going independent and using my skills. And one of my business partners now, who was one of my accounts then, sat in a Atlanta Braves game together in the hot, hot heat. It was supposed to be overcast, so I didn't wear a hat, but it was bright and sunny. But he sat there and said to me, what would it take for you to come work with me? And I was like,
Mm.
what? This guy wrote some pretty big cases on some pretty popular players in the NFL. They actually played
Yeah.
last week, and so he's asking me to come work with him and build out distribution. And I was like, this is amazing. So again, prayer answered, but like if I didn't go through the trials and tribulations of an internal, cutting my teeth, learning the sales ideas, to bring me to where I was at AIG to get that regional VP position, to use those same sales ideas and create a name for myself, that stuff was invaluable for me to get there. And then everything I learned in my RVP position led me to that independence. So
Yeah.
some people don't see the dark times as valuable, but
Yeah.
someone told me, they said, you you find someone's true character during the dark times, not the bright
Yeah.
times. And so, it just kind of led me to that situation of, how do I use every opportunity to find a way to enhance myself and things like that. So, long-winded answer.
No, I love it because like even hearing you say that, I started kind of revisiting the choices that you have made that we've kind of discussed this far. And it's like a lot of the choices, it just you went but with your gut who you were and you trusted yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm thinking about what if you listened to them? Where would you be at? What if you wore the button up shirt and started to, it's almost like they wanted you to accept that role, be in that role, be that. And you're like, this isn't me. I know there's more. And sometimes we rub people the wrong way or they think we're buttholes or just anything but nice because we won't
Yep.
accept a position they're okay with. Like, this
Yep.
might be good enough for you, but it's not for me. Like, I
Nope.
did the same thing. I had a little job because people don't understand. I said, listen, I work these little jobs to pay for my podcast. Okay. I was just
Yep.
like, I,
Yep.
I was like, otherwise I could sit at home and be comfortable, but I'm like, this is what I want to do. I love helping people. I want to share experiences. I worked a state job for a while. I was at a call center, no less. And I requested a day off because I found out I had something going on with my knee. And I was like, well, let me make a doctor's appointment. They denied my time off. Baby, I denied them my existence that same day. I wrote on a postcard, I quit with a smiley face. And I gave away all my little snacks at my desk and I walked out. And I told the little front desk lady because she was super nice. I was like, I'm quitting. You won't see me again here, but you will see me on TV. She goes, you're leaving. I said, baby, I was here for a good time, not a long time. I've got to go.
Amen. Amen.
So I'm like, I love that. And it makes me feel good and confident about the choices I make, even if I'm unsure. I just know it was better than it was better than where I was before, and I'm moving forward. And right now, I feel like, do you know how to play chess?
Oh yeah. I
Okay, so
love
I love
chess.
so you'll get what I'm trying to say right now. But I feel like I'm on the board of the chessboard right now, where I can't move. I'm like, if I
Yep.
move this way, this pawn's gonna take me out. If I go here, the queen's gonna swipe my ass. And the rook's gonna get me. So I need to stand still and I need to look for other things to move around. So I kind of
Yep.
envision my life as chess, and that was why I wanted to learn how to play because I understand that board game. Everybody is your enemy, not necessarily, but any decision
Yeah.
can affect you depending on what you choose. Again, you could have listened to that lady and totally just like, you know what? I got a job, I'm making money. Let me throw that button
Yep.
up on and, accept this, make the money, take care of the family. But it's like, no, I know I can do that, but I also know I can do more.
Well, it's also I like, and this is a part of my character, whether you call it a flaw or not, but I like proving people wrong.
Mm,
So a good example is the monotone voice. I was blessed with this. People called me
yeah.
Soundwave, if you're familiar with Transformers, Fridge, because I'm ever, but it goes back to how do you play off of that? So I would joke with people, I'd be like, I know I got a face for radio and a voice for silent film, but if you just like if you make it quick and like little quips here and there, and people just don't
Yeah,
realize it, but they have to keep attentive to hear what I'm going to say. So that's
exactly.
part of it. I've had people tell me like I can't do certain things, like run a marathon. I've run three. So, from that standpoint, I love doing what people tell me I
Yeah.
can't do. So it's just, I guess I like the
You're just
chip on the
like,
shoulder,
challenge
you know,
accepted. You're like,
all day,
knowing you've got two boys, I hate to hear how that house is going. Like, oh, you can't eat all that.
Yeah, hold my
Everything's a
beer.
challenge. Your poor wife.
Hold my beer.
I will pray for your wife. I will keep her in my
Yes,
prayers.
she needs it. She needs
So, you
it.
talked about a lot of different insurance organizations that you went from like traditional brokerages to MLMs. Can you kind of tell me the little difference between the two? Because, our listeners are in various fields, whether they're, independent, they work for like a super MLM that doesn't know it's an MLM, it identifies as an
Yeah.
independent
Yeah.
organization. And
Yeah.
then some are career agents and things like that. So can you give me the difference of either would you choose one over the other, or hey, I'm good where I'm at?
Yeah, I think the big thing is so when I was a regional VP, I wholesaled to several types of organizations. So when I first came to AIG, I was an internal general agency for the career group when they couldn't sell their proprietary product.
Hmm.
They'd come to my team and we'd sell them everybody under the sun. Well, they let them all go 2 years in because not enough people were writing, but they had plenty of overhead.
Yeah.
So, learning how the career model works, great for training, boosting people up from a traditional agency model. Now, if you fast forward when I wholesaled to independent GAs, general agencies, and MLMs, the independent GAs are very stuck in their way. They're usually like a lot of times big organizations have a bunch of crusty old white people sitting there with spreadsheets to give out to other crusty old white people to give, stats to clients, and that's where carriers run illustrations to make their illustrations look the prettiest. I never run illustrations the way the carrier says to run them, just FYI. But then you have anything wrong with the design, but there's something wrong with the mechanics. Okay, so kind of like in this equation here, I'm going to say it. This is again why I'm not good for corporate. If you think about communism in context, it is actually pretty cool. But when you add human interaction to it, it just
Yeah.
breaks down.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea of recruiting people in, bringing people in to build these overrides are great. But if I said to you, all right, Patrice, you bring in a bunch of people and you train them and this and that, and then you sit there like, I ain't training anybody. Phil, you're training
Yeah.
them. And I'm just going to sit here and collect the overrides. Who is that fair for?
Yeah.
And so I've always been a guy who's about fairness, and I always say that passive income is a myth unless someone actually writes something. So when I decided to build Valor, I created a hybrid. So crusty old white, knowledge with the idea of the MLM strategy where you can
Yeah.
sell more, and when you sell more, you make more. So, and you can build teams off of team sales versus stacking a bunch of dead bodies who aren't going to do anything anyway.
Yeah.
So there's methodologies and ways that people can do it. Some people like to recruit and not sell. Then that's an MLM model for you.
Yeah.
Some people like to just spreadsheet and look at different stuff and be a lone wolf. Brokerage is for you. I'm like a happy medium. I like in between where people can progress if they want. I can help people build a team if they want. But if they want some expertise and help in the independent space by themselves, I got that too. So that's why I looked at what people had and I built around it to make it more advantageous to meet people where they lie and not ultimately just try and put people in a box. So I think from the standpoint of what people are looking for, I've also made it a point that if anybody asks for my opinion, I don't roughly say, hey, you should come work with me.
Yeah.
If they ask, what do you think of this group or that group? I'll give pitfalls, I'll give pros and cons. There are carriers that I've given compliments to, but oftentimes what I see in certain multi-level marketing groups is pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. They all want these big overrides and they'll sell policies like income policies that are funded with too high of a death benefit for a commission play. You can smell the commission breath.
Hmm.
And really, it just becomes a feeder class for the people who have solidified the top. And then people recruit in, they feed them, and then they move them out. So that's typically what happens
I
with
couldn't think of a
a
better
MLM
metaphor. That's
model.
exactly all that happens. And I'm watching
Yeah.
it. Now I sit back and I can see the wave, see it
Oh
coming.
yeah.
I
Chew
see the
them up,
next
spit them
group.
out.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
the
It's
next
like,
group big and mad and moving on to another space. And I'm just like, wow, it's just
yeah.
still happening. Still
So
happening.
you, yeah, so like a Patrice brings in her friend, Phil Resch comes in and says, all right, Patrice, you can go wait outside. I'll talk to him. And then we'll split it 50-50, but I'm at like a 78%, and you're at like a 25%. So you're getting half of
Insane.
that, and then your friend gets the sale and then you recruit them in and then they die on the vine and then you're still where you're at, but I was fed and now I got another recruit under me. So I go up another level. So that's why I say it leads to unethical practices.
Yeah.
Uh, I wholesaled to a company of people helping people, and they would move up the chain based on submissions, not even placement. And if the it didn't place, they wouldn't go back down. So they would do these events where they would all just sit around at tables and calling people. They're like, hey, how many policies does your kid have on it right now? Oh, I think they need another policy from this new carrier. And they just let it lapse, like 2 weeks later because they're trying to do a run, they call it, to move up the chain. And I was like, this is disgusting. This is absolutely
Right? Because it's a
disgusting.
disservice to the clients now because we don't know what's going to happen
In
to
the
them.
industry, in the
Yeah.
industry. So
Yeah.
now the people who stick around, not the part-timers who are going to be gone in 2 years or less, have to sit around and listen to how these customers got screwed over
Yeah.
by someone else who's no longer in the industry. I saw it with a kid and his mom. I helped a mother convert her policy from an AXA policy to a guaranteed policy because he sold her one with his big rider. It was going to lapse in 7 years. So he moved it to a guaranteed policy single pay. She lost half the death benefit, but she at least retains a death benefit. And it was her
Yeah.
own son, her own son. So, like, there are people
Wow.
who just come from outside the industry. We need more people in the industry.
Yeah.
MLMs bring them, but they do a poor job of teaching them because the
Maintaining
idea is
them,
always
sustaining
taught
them.
recruit. Yep.
Like they're not even giving them an exit interview. Like, hey, nothing,
Don't let the door
nothing.
hit you where the good Lord split you. You paid the
No.
200. I moved up a level. We all win. Well, I win and you might. So
Well,
it's
and
like,
again, this is why this is so important. This is why I want you to do the podcast. I wanted real
yeah,
people, real experience. Tell me your journey because
yeah,
everyone has different versions of this journey. Some people have been having a great experience the whole entire time. Some people have been through it. I want people to come here to see that they're not alone, to figure out which
yeah,
part of the journey that they're in or they're about to enter by listening to us. And again, Agent Score Report too, where we want to make sure that we're tracking agents, whether you're doing good or, hey, we need to have a conversation with this person. We're all on
yeah.
board. We're a team. We're independent, but at the same time, we're a team and we need to work together as a team. I don't care which IMO you're part of, MLM,
Mhm.
whatever weird group, cult group we're still together because at the end of the day, if you do
Yep.
something bad, we all get held accountable for it. The amount of calls
Yes.
that you guys are
Yes.
all this stuff. And it's like, no, you got scammed.
Yep.
So it's like we
Yep.
have to spin our wheels turning that conversation around.
Well, you wouldn't believe how many times when I was in an RVP position, like people called me part of their organization. They love me so much. And I was honored. It was
Yeah.
different when I left, Phil who,
Of course.
when I was there, I would get phone calls all the time. Phil, my upline sold me this policy wrong. I need half the death benefit that they gave me with the same premium. What can I do? And I'd have to sit there and say, listen, if you try and reduce the death benefit, you're going to get hit with surrender charges,
Yep.
loss of cash. The policy's not bad. The design is bad. So I told them, I was like, because they're all increasing, I'd say just change it to level. That'll mitigate the cost and this and that and help you. And they're like, oh, thank you. Like it pains me. If I had a nickel for every time I had that conversation,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to sell life insurance. So it's just people in the land of the blind, the person with one eye is king, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those situations where there's still not even full transparency, but
Yeah.
yet they know more than the other person, so they're the expert and they're not.
Yeah. The amount
So
of cells that pop in my head because my practice IMO, I guess that's what we say now. My practice IMO,
starter.
they would brag about the cells they got and say how they set it up, and especially with the IULs and like the clients paying $46,000 AP. But now that I understand IULs, they've
Hmm.
absolutely screwed every single person. Because the thing is, it's like if you don't pay that same amount every year for those first 5 to 7 crucial years, it's going
You're
to eat all
screwed.
that money up.
It's just like a baby.
Yeah,
When you first
absolutely.
have a baby, you have to feed it, you have to nurture it. There's no reciprocal love. You're just doing it all. IULs are the same way. If you don't feed it and nurture it for at least 7 to 10 years, you should have just never bought it. So,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
people don't think that way. So they just see the numbers that the carrier gave them. That's why Midland slash North American and National Life Group have RICO cases against them because of their Fidelity account and the Pacesetter account
Wow.
are showing bad returns. And it was
I've seen the bad
portrayed differently.
policies. So I've
So
seen them. So
like I
speaking of,
said, I don't
oh,
do that. I don't
yeah.
illustrate the way the carrier tells you to because it's a lie.
Yeah. So speaking of training and things, you do a free training every week, and you also have another one where you guys meet in person. And as you know, Agent Score Report, we now have our growth center where we will be having you on there so people can jump into your free training. Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so, Valor has been growing leaps and bounds. At the end of last year, we had about 450 people contracted with us. And again, independence, so people can contract here and elsewhere for different things. And there's no judgment. It's like Planet
Yeah.
Fitness, it's a judge-free zone. Um, so every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central, I do what's called Back to Basics, where people can come in and just ask questions. If no one comes in, turn it off and go hang out with my family. But if people come in, I'm going to say, all right, what do you want to talk about? If no one says a thing, turn it off and go hang out with my family. Because this is a time where people have questions, case design, structure, anything like that. It's open door for anybody to come in and talk. I don't care who you're affiliated with or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Now on Thursdays at 4 o'clock Central, I host more of a formal training, which is sales ideas, carriers, and things like that, that can enhance someone's practice. So I do more of a nitty gritty, raw thing on Wednesday nights at 8, and then more of a formalized training at 4 o'clock on Thursdays, and just really kind of enhance that value proposition for the agents. Now, um, if people miss it, I have a YouTube channel with all my trainings. It's at Valor Financial, and it has probably like 200 videos on there right now. Sales ideas, product designs, case studies. I even have like how to build a presentation. So like even stuff like that, as nominal as it is, it's important for people to know. And so
So my
exactly.
thing is, what is your why? Why are you, I have my why, that's for agentscorereport.com and this podcast. So what is your why? Why are you doing that?
So the reason why I do that is I want to expose people to understand that there's more than just what's in front of you. Too
Mhm.
many people wave a flag of their, you know, this is my carrier, this and that. It's like, well, when you do that, you close off your mind to
Yeah.
other opportunities. Like, there's no bad product, just bad agents, plain
Yep.
and simple.
Yep.
I even have someone talking about infinite banking, so it's like that's whole life. Oh, your IMO doesn't like whole life. Why? Because they don't have it,
Yeah.
or stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with the product, because let's be honest, 60% of the sales, I think, if I recall correctly, are still whole life. So
Yeah.
it's still an animal in the industry, but yet people think it's the devil, and it's not. So my objective of this is that I want to open the blinders up for people, have them understand that this is truly a different animal, and there's more opportunity than you even see that you can
Yeah.
provide to your client that's right in front of you.
Hmm.
You got the biggest problems I have right now, and I'm going to be straight up, is unethical multi-level marketing groups, straight up,
Yep.
and people who are sitting there waiting for their phone to ring for final expense. Final expense is another cancer on this industry, because basically it tells me that there are not enough people going out and talking to them when they're healthy enough
Yeah.
to buy insurance, that they're waiting for these leads to come in, buy the leads, have a sale, client dies or cancels it, then you have a chargeback while you're buying new leads to hopefully get you ahead.
Yep.
But if you go out in your community and you talk to business owners, you talk to other people, let people know what
Yeah.
you do, and it's free, then all of a sudden you could move forward and not have to move back. So those are the things that, like, my why is for people to understand that there's way more for you to actually do than
Yep.
what you think you can do. You can do 401ks you know, without FINRA licenses, and
Yeah.
people don't know that. So
It's like they
because
get
their IMO
helpless
don't
and like
train them.
lazy. They start telling me, they're complaining. It's almost like I don't know what type of trauma they go through with these MLO companies, but all of a sudden they lose all sense of direction. Like I had a woman
Yep.
tell me, I don't know who they think they are. I used to go to churches and do seminars here, there, and everywhere and door knock here and there. And I'm like, okay, then what's the problem?
Yep.
It sounds like you
Yep.
have everything you need. You just need to get up and go out the door and go talk to somebody. But
That's
no,
it.
she was so hell bent on getting these leads and working old leads and trying to make something out of nothing because you thought that would be the easier way, but really you're just banging your head against the wall.
It's
Whereas,
painful.
I mean, literally, I was at my daughter's job and she works in like kind of like a courtyard or court, like a food court, if you will.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. Yeah.
literally sat there and was like, I could easily make $10,000 in here if I wanted to right now. Like if I wanted to go and talk to all these people, and I can tell just by looking at them how much they can contribute to a IUL. Like
Yep.
just I easily I was like, I know what he can do and I know what he can do. He might surprise me, but I'm like, I know because I know they all need it. And it makes
Yep.
sense because there's
Yep.
not a loss there. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
You're 100% right. And that's why I say, like, my why in general for doing all of this really is that um, I saw what not having insurance can do
Yeah.
firsthand. My grandmother went on Medicaid, because we spent all of their money on my grandfather when he got sick. And he didn't believe in insurance, and he didn't believe in dual pension. He retired from Kodak up in Rochester with a full pension, and he just did a single life. So watching my grandmother go into Medicare or Medicaid, getting this crappy service, and then basically treating my mom like an employee, I was so disgusted because I had such fond memories of going to my grandparents' house,
Yeah.
sleeping over Friday nights, having a little Pizza Hut pizza action and stuff like that. It was just some really cool memories. But then out of nowhere, you just hear these horror stories of this person you held on a pedestal in a different reason.
Yeah.
And one night my grandmother said to my mom, because my mom would sing in the choir. I think she still does,
Yes.
but she's like, Karen, can you sing me a bedtime song? My mom was just so pissed. She's like, just go to bed, and slammed the door and left. And then later on that night, she got the phone call that she passed away.
Wow.
So you sit here and you say to yourself, what would have changed if she had long-term care? Would she have been
Yeah.
in a better position where it was mother and daughter versus
Yeah.
employer and employee?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about we got to do better. We got to, you
Yeah.
know, keep that dynamic the way it should be rather than the way it is. And then
Yeah.
ultimately, I'm hoping that someday, legacy wise, it'll be a spot where people say, man, I remember when Phil did, he really changed the industry for
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
so kind of that legacy play too. It's
No, I
always
love
kind of
that.
keeps you hungry.
And I appreciate
So
you for doing it because again, I'm trying to do a version of what you're doing on my end. So it's like rather than us trying to take it all by ourselves, I'm going to do my part. You know,
teamwork makes the dream work.
exactly. And I love that
Yep.
because for me, it puts me in a position I think I always wanted to be in, which is help people and direct and
Yep.
be their lighthouse, if you will. So now that
Yeah.
I'm in this role, I'm meeting so many amazing people like you, where it's just like I have people that are hesitant to go to another IMO, but they want to. I'm like, hey, Phil is the place you can go, and he's not going to try to fill up on you, okay? And try to get you to sign a contract and come over. He's going
Uh,
to say no,
I'm
come and learn.
okay.
You
I'm
know,
doing
we're all gonna
okay.
we're gonna break bread together, and if you're down, then come. If not, just keep showing up until you feel ready. And I love
Yep.
that we are creating safe places for people to be able to even do that. Even for me, I feel like I am now a safe place because people can come to me,
Yeah.
ask questions. No, I'm not gonna try to recruit them, lie to them, take their business, like all the things that someone would try to do if you brought business their way and you're just trying to get a sense of direction.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I love what you're doing. So I guess with that being said, the insurance industry is evolving rapidly. What trends do you see shaping the future of the business?
So obviously AI is playing a bigger role. You're also getting algorithms to create more of these tech companies, and everyone is so afraid of having like Google, Amazon getting the insurance space because they say it's like, oh, you're going to become obsolete.
Mhm.
Oh, if they're going to sell it, they don't need you. It's just a carrier, direct to consumer. And to be on the other side, the carriers want that because the biggest thing is like the compensation is stuff that leads the drag, leads the high surrender charge schedules, the whole nine yards. But I welcome it because then it'll take me away from having to do all the term sales. you
Yeah.
know. So it creates awareness. That's what COVID did, create awareness, and it created an opportunity for the story to be told. So the more people tell it, there's no such thing as bad news, right? Everything, like you look at, celebrities that had something bad happen to them or they did something bad, yet they're still idolized or have a higher popularity because of. So like things happen, and words and phrases lead to uh things happening. And so what I would say is like, if the tech companies got into it, if the tech companies started to sell term insurance or try and sell IULs, I would highly recommend they do that, because our products don't get sold or don't get bought, they get sold,
Yeah.
right? You need someone who's smart enough to teach you on it, to train you on it. And someone said to me one time, they're like, what's the difference in pricing between let's just say AIG Select Quote and you selling AIG Select Quote? Said
Yeah.
nothing, but you get a free advisor, so someone will monitor the case and take care of it. Because I can guarantee you tomorrow that same
Mm,
person who sold you that policy won't be there. It's
yeah.
a churn and burn system. So people just have to realize that we're not in the business of selling insurance. We're in the business of building relationships
Yeah.
and maintaining those relationships.
That's
So
huge.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So, speaking on your focus and the business and AI changing and pivoting your business, you have a strong focus on estate planning and working with high net worth clients, including athletes. Could you share some insights on why you believe estate planning is often overlooked and how you can help clients navigate it?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, to talk about gift exemptions, to talk about changes in the industry, you have to stay boned up on it. So, like, I'll go to seminars and sessions about what people are doing in estate planning, because if you don't, then you're an old hat and you can't do what you're supposed to do. But in order to really do that, you have to invest in your business.
Mm,
Now, if you want to just go and talk to someone about, hey, you have two kids and a spouse, you need $500,000 in IUL. Why? Because that's what I sold to Patrice. That's what I sold to Phil. That's what I sold to
yeah.
John. So it's a cookie cutter method. With the estate planning, I've worked on a case that was $200 million, and we had to wrangle 11 carriers to
Wow.
do that. Yeah, they ended up taking 100 million between five carriers, but still,
Yeah.
that took a year and a half. And so, the thing that excites me about that is two things. One, when you talk estate planning, you're talking about the true need of life insurance. Too many people nowadays always talk about the cash value side, because
Yeah.
that's all people want to talk about is what's in it for me, what's in it for me. And they don't think about it that this is the last love letter you're going to give someone.
Yeah.
The Kennedys, the Rockefellers, they set up the waterfall estate planning set up to help the family and create a legacy. So there's only so much you can have. You can't put a U-Haul to your casket. So eventually you become a philanthropist of your own money. So what are you going to do with it? And that usually stops people right in their tracks. So part of it is the excitement on working on a big case. Part of it is really trust. In order for me to say to you, Patrice, I need you to give me $26 million to put into an irrevocable trust today, because you won't have that exemption in 10 months.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of trust,
Yeah. I was 26, 2 and 6.
Yeah, two followed by a six,
Two and
and
six.
then six zeros, so it's like, some people, they might pucker up a little bit at something like that, but
Yeah.
you have to say it with confidence. It's just a number. and
Yeah.
um and if they believe in what you're saying, then it becomes reality, and it's exciting, sure, but I don't get excited until until it happens,
Yes.
because
Yep.
the other case that we did, the 42.5 million, when I was an RVP, he wasn't going to take that until someone T-boned him in his Bentley. So you sit there and you say to yourself, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
He got scared into it, and then he took the policy. So, um, you know, I'm not going to say who was driving the other car, but no, I'm just kidding. Um, but no, I like estate planning because of the complexities.
Yeah,
It's like chess or solving a
yeah,
really hard puzzle, something like that. Because 18 years of doing this, no client's ever been the same, and that's
yeah,
why I love our industry. So you can be, pardon, you can be lazy and just stick with the easy stuff, or if you
yeah,
create a niche, you become unstoppable because everyone needs that.
yeah. But
So,
I want to just water down that whole. Yes, everyone can do this, but anyone can do this business, but not everyone should. Okay, like that's the other thing. Yes, this business is profitable, but not everybody needs to be in here. And that's why I'm so glad you're doing the things that you're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing to kind of put these people on notice that we are watching, we were talking about you. And again, I wanted something that was more positive because a lot of podcast like things I see about is so negative. We're talking about the like, oh, okay, cool. But what about people that are still here and staying and
yeah.
they're consistent? I want to give them good content for the people that are in the business and we're having a good time. And maybe you can laugh at some of the similarities that we go through. Um,
Well,
Go
as
ahead.
I say, the big thing with that is just stay in the industry. Too many
Yeah,
people leave if 2 years or less because they run out of their friends and family.
yeah.
But if you pass the 2-year mark with a concerted effort, the business will pay you back tenfold.
Oh
And that's
yeah,
what people are missing because I mean, there are tons of people who make tons of money just doing the basics. And it works. Like the top guy for my business partner's team did about 500,000, 600,000 in just
wow.
doing, yeah, he did an online will and trust package that led them to uncover the assets, that led to a conversation. It's a 2-hour process. So you got someone for 2 hours. What are you going to talk about? So it is easy if you get a process down,
Yeah,
but some of those things don't excite me. So I partner with people who, that's why when I say collaboration, so say,
yeah,
Patrice, you're at ABC Company, I'm at Valor, you have a client, I have a story, and we collaborate. You don't leave your org, I don't leave mine, but we both win together, 50-50,
I think
whatever.
that's beautiful. I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I
That's the
wish
whole
more
point.
organizations thought like that, but they think in scarcity. And if Phil decides to leave my company, I text all 300 people and say, don't talk to Phil and block them on Facebook like we're kids.
Yeah,
This type of
yeah,
collaborative effort is something that I preach with agents. Like, hey, it's like when these agents are telling you, oh, just come be on my team and then I help you. That's so weird to me. Why not, hey, I'm willing to partner with you. Let's come up with an
yep.
agreement, put it in writing, and let's go write
MDRT
these
split.
business.
That's
And the
it.
thing is
MDRT
like,
split.
if you do decide to move forward with each other, you at least see their work ethic across several different policies and how they handle that, how they talk to your
Yeah,
clients. But give it some time. Don't just jump into a new contract because it is a
yeah.
marriage in this business.
Date them. Yeah, date them before you marry them. You took it right out of my
Exactly.
mouth. So yeah,
So, well,
and
with
that's what I
that being
say.
said, what
Hmm.
advice would you give to new agents or even our seasoned ones who are looking to build a successful career in the insurance and financial services?
Loaded. It's loaded.
Yeah,
Um, you know, everyone tells you to start with like your friends and your family.
yeah,
I've got friends who make a good living, but I don't talk to them because I don't, they've seen me in different contexts, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean, I'll say it. I'm a Christian, like even biblically speaking, Jesus was not Jesus to his hometown, right?
yeah, yeah,
So when you think about who you're going to talk to, people suddenly get discouraged. My dad hasn't even bought insurance for me, so like when you think about that, if you talk to someone who's brand new, like if I met you in
yeah,
a wherever, and just say, hey, my name's Resch, oh, what's your name? Patrice, what do you do? Well, I change people's lives. What? And quick elevator pitch. I protect
yeah,
people while they work, give them the retirement they want. And then once they made way too much, leave a legacy that doesn't involve Uncle Sam. And it just leaves it open to have conversations with anybody from that standpoint. So the biggest
yeah,
lesson I would say is don't be afraid to talk to other people that aren't your friends,
yeah,
you know, because you can develop your friends, talk to your friends, practice on them, say, hey, I'm learning the insurance business. Can I ask you some questions to hone my practice, to talk to other people?
Yeah.
Some may say, so some will say yes, but it could be a soft pitch to them and they might actually bite. But
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, too many people are afraid to actually talk to people that they don't know. You're going to make mistakes. That's
Yeah.
the first thing. You're going to make mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice, and then keep moving forward, because it's a lot easier to move forward than just back out.
No,
That'd be the
it's
big
so
thing.
true. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Because even for me, I figured out a way to casually throw it into conversation, so I'm not that guy, right? We don't
Yep.
want we don't
Someone
want to be
say
the
insurance.
dinner
Yeah.
talk, right? Table talk
Yeah.
at dinner, like, oh
Yeah. Oh,
God,
Patrice is here. Everyone leave. It's
Exactly.
like,
I always
you know,
find a way. I remember I had a friend actually compliment me like that. We're in a hiking group, and I was talking to some lady, and I just asked her, I'm like, "Why are you in this group?" Because the one thing I learned early on is people love to talk about themselves, and then it's just easy to dive right in after that. You know what I mean? And I
amen.
I figure out a way
Amen.
to wiggle my way, whether they bring up something that happened to someone else, like someone got in an accident. I'm just like, oh my days. I go, do they have insurance? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, like living benefits, and then it's an easy, I didn't even have to
Yeah.
sell them. They sold themselves because they're like, I didn't know that existed. So the approach is already, their guard's already down and they're feeling sad for their friend. And now they're just like, wait, there's something that could have benefited them in this situation because this easily could have happened to me. So
Easily.
I
Easily.
love it. I have so much fun. So, as we kind of round to the end of our podcast, and again, thank you so much for being on agentscorereport.com's The Great Reset podcast. You know, what is next for your business? And do you have any exciting projects or goals that you're working towards?
So I guess what I would say next for my business is really, to the extent that it's, you know, time to, I would say growth mode is executed. So I have about 500 agents right now. I anticipate to have about 2,500 agents by the end of the year. We are doing road shows of the collaboration event. I call them micro collaborations across the country. Sacramento, LA or Anaheim, still figuring that out. Charlotte, Dallas, Orlando, and other places, Louisville, and then we have the big events. So the idea again is to create awareness. The smaller ones are more for, people who want to be a part of the Valor
Yeah,
family. The bigger one is really all about sales ideas and mirroring the two. Like if you have a client and I have a story and we can work together, let's work together. But it's that one is more agnostic, if you will. So those are the big projects that I would say. I have strategic partners across the country. I have 5 of them. I call them RISE partners. It stands for Regional Insurance Solutions Executives.
love
Cheeky, right?
it.
So, still looking for 5 more. Georgia, Florida, Jersey, Illinois, and Southern Texas, like Houston area.
Yeah,
So, it's a pay to play, but there's a lot of good benefits to it. And really, just the growth mode from that standpoint is I can then relay my message to some group of people who can relay it to more to get out to more people. So that's the goal, is to ultimately help, the community. And when you help the community, they help you.
yeah.
So it just seems too simple. So the big projects are really just kind of getting those 5 other Rise partners and really just getting through May at this point. So that's the big
So,
thing.
is there anything you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, the big thing would be is from the standpoint of if you just want to talk, you can easily find me on YouTube. All my trainings are there at Valor Financial. I'm on Facebook, so Phil Resch or Valor Financial Specialists, and Instagram, I have Valor Financial and Monotone Magic. So anyone can call me, text me, email me, whatever, DM, whatever you want to say. I give everyone the same respect, whether you have a 10-year term or $100 million case, because at the end of the day, we're here to take care of people. So um, would love to engage in any conversations. Just, much like you say, don't try and recruit me. I already have top comps, so
Right.
it's not gonna work.
Baby,
But
you can't afford Phil, okay? He
yeah, you
expensive.
can't afford me. You can't afford me.
I
So
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can find me anywhere. I'm not that hard to find. So, but yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. To whoever does listen to it, I hope you got some good nuggets or a good laugh. But either way, do really appreciate the partnership collaboration.
So you guys look forward to seeing Phil on our growth center on agentscorereport.com, where you'll have access to his weekly trainings and any events he comes up. So stay tuned. That'll be up there shortly. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Looking for the best ways to stand out in the insurance industry, connect with other agents, even find resources? Welcome to agentscorereport.com, where transparency meets opportunity. Hundreds of agents are already building their credibility with verified profiles. Don't get left behind. Join a growing community of top professionals who are making their mark. Sign up today at agentscorereport.com and take control of your reputation. Your future clients are waiting.